Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Joe is, he's right on. So good morning, Joe.
Good morning, ANITA.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Lawsuits.
a shout out to Eddie from me, too.
Shout out to Eddie. All right. Okay. So anyway, you certainly are a very busy guy. I mean, I just have to commend you. And when I have new advertisers, I always say to them about seminars. And I have someone, he's a now very close personal friend, who is Joe Karp. And he has been leading seminars for the past almost 20 years without fail, usually every single month. And he does either 2 or 3 seminars in different locations. And I'll bet that you could write a book about this, couldn't you, Joe, and what happens at those seminars?
Absolutely. I've been doing, actually, the first time I started doing workshops and seminars was April 1994. I used to do 7 every 3 weeks. I would do 7 together.
Okay.
I would do 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, and 3 on Thursday, every 3 weeks. With time and with building up my own reputation and my clientele's referral, even though I'm now 5 lawyers instead of 1 lawyer, we do 3 about 9 or 10 months of the year because we have so many other sources and responsibilities, because we have ongoing responsibilities to our existing clients, and they always come first.
Yep, that's who you are. And everybody knows that about you. We just talked to someone, of course, with Dr. Mencia. They have the dental and the medical, and the way they've grown their business, same way that you've grown yours, you care. It's like you go to a dental or a medical office, you see this big glass window up in front, and you have to knock it on it, and then they don't know who you are. They've just changed they've changed assistants, and you've been going there for 10, 15 years. They don't know who you are. That's not the way to run business, and that's not the way you run your business. You are so personal.
Fact, our little motto is, your peace of mind is our priority.
It's always been that way, Joe.
And it is, because people are coming to us to have some peace of mind and to have a sense that what they're doing is right. They're taking care of their loved ones properly. They're taking care of each other properly, and they will not be divisive, that they will not cause any, we're almost like doctors. My attitude for my clients is to be like doctors. In your estate plan, do no harm. Do no harm. Make sure that you are not the problem. And it easily can be if you don't have sensitivity to your family, who they are, their attitudes. And sometimes that means I had clients yesterday that met with me a year ago, and they said, after they met with me, they said, well, they're going to think about it, and they were going to go up to New Jersey, and then they came back for the season. But they are Floridians. And they came in, and they have 2 children who don't get along. Everything else is okay. And they were dilemmaed over who should be left in charge. And they finally ultimately realized neither of them, because that would have been the problem. And they came to terms with that and recognized that the children could not be in charge of things. If one was in charge, they'd be doing battle against the other. And if the 2 were in charge together, they would be like they were 9 and 7 years old all over again. They would just be doing battle, and they just resolved it. So, yeah, the answer is you have to think about people and care about them, and then give them some space to think about it. Some people wonder sometimes where I say, well, you're not ready to hire me yet. And they said, but I came in to hire you. And I said, well, we can do one of 2 things. You can come back, or if you want, we've resolved everything except this one issue. You can hire me, but we're going to have a phone conversation about this in a week or so, or what will it take you to come to this resolution? because it is not rocket science, unfortunately. You can't come up with a mathematically certain answer when you're dealing with the human factor. And just recognize you should get it done sooner rather than later, because life is totally unpredictable, and get it done. A dear friend of mine, I mean, the unpredictability is a dear friend of mine who is a lawyer who has given me, who's represented me on some business dealings because he has greater expertise in business. Went in for heart valve surgery a week ago and came out of the surgery fine, but for the infection that killed him.
Oh, I am so sorry.
Things suddenly happened.
So sorry.
And he was cool. He said, we're gonna meet again, and we were gonna meet somewhere in 2 weeks from now. But I'm just telling people you can't always rely upon the facts of life. Certain things are unpredictable. If we were to, without getting political, nobody in this world would have predicted Donald Trump's rise and the acceptance of him, and that the things he has said, attacking everybody from John McCain to the Pope, and no problem. So
yeah,
you never know what's going to happen in life.
I know. It's true.
People have to recognize that life is unpredictable, and they should deal with it. And and you got to care for these people because it's so disconcerting to see people torn.
Well, let me bring something up. I was thinking about you as we saw Nancy Reagan's funeral, and she was amazing. She had everything laid out. Everything was taken care of before. Wasn't that something?
She had everything. It's not a surprise. And to President Reagan's credit, when he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, one, he went public rather than went into denial. Two, I am certain that he addressed all of the issues that he had to for the rest of his life, including contemplating that his wife might predecease him, because that could have happened. Certainly they had certain advantages that many people don't have economically, so she had far more people to be able to do physical things. But I got to tell you, Nancy Reagan was a caregiver. She may not have had to give him a bath, but she may have anyway because she loved her husband dearly. But she was a caregiver, and people who are caregivers maintain that status. I don't care if your loved one's in a nursing home. You're still the caregiver, even if you're home every night, and that person's in a nursing home. So they took care of things. The president did. He had his ducks in a row. She did, and I'm sure she was prepared for it. And to that extent, she was a role model for everyone to deal with reality and get it all done. I have clients who have a list of the music they want played at their funeral. I have clients who are very, very realistic about life, death, and incapacity. Although the thing that's hardest for most people to deal with reality is incapacity.
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting that you should say that because, I married an older man. But at the time I married him, I never thought about being married to an older man. And as time goes by now, there are things that are in my mind that weren't on my mind before. So you do, and of course you have always been our wonderful lawyer, but there are so many things that change, and as we're aging ourselves, and you have to keep thinking about what's different now than when you first did your first estate plan. And I'm sure some people never had a lawyer like you, and they've probably never been back to their lawyer.
We tell people to come back all the time because life is going to change. It's a set of musical chairs. Different people become different parts of your life. And I talk to that about people when they're doing their estate plan, that we tell people they should come back every 3 years for a review. I had a couple came in yesterday. The husband had gone to my workshop. The wife had not. They came in, and the wife said, we did our trusts in Michigan, and we were told these are good anywhere in the country. Why are we here? I said, well, I am going to assume that your trust is good anywhere in the country. And it probably is. Now, let's look at this trust and see if this is the trust you want would want in Michigan. Okay? Because that's where they did it. And there were a number of things that they no longer wanted in there that had to do with life and their personal lives as well as the law. They had mandatory tax planning because they had done their trust when the tax law was $1 million was the exemption, and they had about $1.5 million. Now the exemption, and they plan on staying in Florida forever, and the federal exemption is now $5.4 million. I said, well, do you still want this unnecessary? I explained why it's of value, of limited value. Do you still want the tax planning? Do you want the extra work when the first person dies and the lack of control? Hell no. Then they had 3 children, one of whom became estranged from them 3 years ago, who was listed as a successor trustee, a health care decider that they haven't talked to, and getting a third of the money. I said, do you still want that? She said, no. I said, well, your trust is legally sufficient. Now, are you happy with it? And of course not. So you always got to look at things like that. Life is not cast in stone unless you do it that way, but most people don't want to, and most people recognize things change. Unfortunately, loved ones lose their capacity. I have clients all the time who have to come in, and I'll have the husband and wife sitting there, and I'll turn to the wife, and the husband has been diagnosed with dementia, whatever form, and I'll say to the two of them, because they've been my clients for years, we have to address this. And I'll turn to the husband. If your wife were sick and you had to talk to 4 different doctors about her condition over the course of one day, back and forth on the phone, in order to make proper decisions and remember what they said, to help link it together and ask the right questions, do you think you could do that, or do you think that would be an unfair burden on you? And do you think your wife's health might not be properly taken care of?
Wow.
And they'll say, you're right, I didn't look at it this way. I said, do you trust your daughter that before she would ever make a decision for your wife, she would discuss it with you, she would crystallize it for you, and do you trust that she would make the right decision after getting your input, even if that decision was contrary to yours? Absolutely. My daughter's a saint, they'll say. And then all of a sudden, we've changed documents where they came in to see if there was any change in the tax law. And you've got to deal with that stuff because life goes on. And some of these things, and fortunately, and this is not who I was, this is who I have become because I assume my responsibility seriously. I have to say that to people. I have to say, how are your cancer treatments going and what's the prognosis?
Really?
That's not who I was. Most of us are in serious denial. We don't want to talk to somebody about their cancer. But I got to do it.
Yeah, that's different. Different world, isn't it? And so when you go to these great seminars, and I do want to tell everybody about your seminars, they're so important. Let me just read them. So for those of you who if you've not met Joe Karp before, this is your opportunity to go meet him. If you have, and you've been to some of the seminars, they keep changing because life changes. So let me just tell you what we have coming up. Tuesday, March the 15th from 1:30 to 4, Port St. Lucie Holiday Inn. Wednesday, March 16th from 1:30 to 4, the Palm Beach Gardens Marriott. Thursday, March 17th from 1:30 to 4, Courtyard by Marriott in Boynton Beach. And if you want to really keep up on when the seminars are, if you can't make these, let me give you their website. They always have a great website. They are very careful about what's there. You'll be able to read interesting articles, and they'll tell you what the seminars, where they are. If you need more information, you can call them. But it's Karp Law, KarpLaw.com, karplaw.com. And the 800 number, if you do want to call directly, is 1-800-893-9911, 893-9911. So now that it's tax time, does that make a difference for people with you?
No, not income tax time, not with seniors. I will tell my clients and my prospective clients what does make a difference that's coming up. Every year, historically, people start coming in. They'll come to the March seminar or the April seminar, and then they'll want to do their plan. Well, there's something happening this year that sort of makes me warn people, don't delay. And I'll tell you what it is, because this coming year, Passover comes on April 22nd. And I'm a planner, okay? I plan my whole life. I plan my business. And that doesn't mean my life goes the way I want it, but I plan for the good, the bad, the ugly, and what do you do if it happens? Well, on April 22nd is Passover this year. Historically, when Passover comes in the beginning of April or the end of March, my clients from Florida go up, visit their families up north quite frequently, and then come back and leave in the end of May or beginning of June. This year I have discovered that since it's the end of April and the weather has not been horrendous up north, many of them are not coming back after April 22nd. They're going to stay. So if you're a Floridian and you want to address your estate plan, and you're going up April 22nd, and you're not going to come back till November, come to the workshop in March, make an appointment right away, and get this stuff dealt with. If you're not going to do anything till November, that may be a mistake, because things happen. So you should plan and recognize and look at your calendars, because the number of people who've recently retained us who have said, we're leaving on the 20th and we won't be back till November. And so we're dealing with crunch time earlier. So if you're amongst those who will then say, but can't you do it? Don't show up April 10th and expect that it'll be done on April 20th.
No, that's good advice.
I mean, deal with life. It's a funny calendar. So April 15th is not my deadline date this year. It's April 22.
Okay. And you see, that is interesting that you, of course, are very affected by people who are what we call snowbirds, because they live and dream by when it's warm up north. So, and then you lose these people, and your big opportunity, of course, they have to take care of them. They should be in front of you, even though they probably can do this over the phone.
No, they can't. We like to eyeball people.
Ah, okay.
We think, the way to do it is one-on-one, eyeball, continuity of relationships, know who we are. And when people show up at the workshops, they find out who we are and who my firm is and where we're coming from. Even this radio show, because I've been on for almost 20 years probably doing your radio show.
Right.
People know me now because they've heard me enough one-on-one with you, conversing, talking freely about life itself, and they've got a sense of who I am and who you are, and they've spent 20, 30 hours with me on the radio, because your listeners don't know how to sleep in the morning.
Right. Well, you don't know this, but I actually early this morning I had the Supervisor of Elections for Broward County that got up at 6, and she really wanted to talk to a lot of our listeners. So there she was talking about how they have to get out and vote. And this Dr. Snipes, quite a woman.
And I would tell everybody, because I've already done my early voting, I would really suggest that people try to vote today and tomorrow while you have the ability to do early voting Saturday and Sunday, because The good news for America is people have been voting in droves this year. The bad news is if you're going to be standing online, you may be dissuaded from doing your vote. So try to get to do it on the weekend. Go there and cherish the American freedom to vote. Most everybody who is listening is not Native American, so they all come from the families of immigrants who left for this country, and one of the things they came here for is the right to pick their government and not to be dictated to. So whoever you're going to vote for, go out and cast your vote, and don't think your vote doesn't count. It counts always.
Yeah, and it makes you feel good. In fact, she was saying how she even, that little button you get, yes, I voted. If you bring a child with you, she said she always put they all want one on them too, which starts to educate them.
Yeah, can I talk about one other topic that I always
I'd like
get
you
asked
to.
about?
Go
And
ahead.
I don't. Let me talk about one other thing that I'm always asked about, and I want to explain it. Because when we talk about Medicaid and long-term care planning, everybody knows that there is nursing home coverage, and I'm not going to go into that. The questions I get frequently is, what coverage is there for home care, and what is the story? Well, I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest, and then I want to give you the special good news, and you triggered that on me when you mentioned Broward, because one of the things I'm going to talk about is not available in Broward. Home care Medicaid has the same standards for eligibility, economic and otherwise, as Medicaid in a nursing home. So I'm not going to go through all of that. The trouble with the home care Medicaid program is a couple of things. One, there's a long, long wait list, and there's no guarantee that you'll ever be reached. And although the home care Medicaid, if you sign up today, it doesn't mean you're at the bottom of the list because they triage it based upon need. So if they think you're going to go into a nursing home in 2 days, if we don't put you at the top of the list, they'll put you at the top of the list. But the problem for the home care Medicaid is you don't get much home care. If you get 4 hours a day, that's a lot. If you get it 7 days a week, that's a miracle. So you have to have other caregivers, and you have to have people available, and they'll give you some adult daycare, and they'll pay for your diapers. But there's limited care. It's not like New York where they have 24-hour home care. So don't think that in fact, if you live alone and you need 24-hour care, you probably won't get the home care program unless it's a fluke, because otherwise they're saying this person lives alone, they need care 24 hours a day, and we'll give them 4 hours a day, and we're going to abuse and neglect them by leaving them home alone for 20 hours. So there's limited home care in Medicaid, but this wait list has absolutely thrown people. So when there's a husband and wife and one of them could use some help, they say, how can I get help, etc. There's a long, long list. And it's a wait list that could outlive you. There is another home care program that is available in Palm Beach County. It's available in Miami-Dade and a couple of other counties across the state. It is not in Broward County. And it is called the PACE program. And it's a unique program because they combine both Medicare and Medicaid. So you have to switch your doctors to the PACE program doctors as well. In Palm Beach County right now, there is no wait list for the PACE program. And although you're going to get limited home care, they give excellent other care. They have adult daycare that you must be able to attend once a week at least. And it is a invaluable resource for people.
You're absolutely right. I have to tell you that we tried to get advertising on that because we felt it was so fantastic, but they never followed through. They didn't do it, but it is an amazing program, Joe.
And in Palm Beach County, it's a federal and state program.
Right.
And it's being pilot projected. In Palm Beach County, the agency to whom it has been assigned is Morse.
Yeah, I know it is. know,
the
Joe.
Jewish Family.
Yeah, I know. We've just run
Jewish
out of time.
Federation Agency.
We've just run out of time. I'm sorry.
Take care.
Okay, thank you very,
happy
very
day.
much, Joe. Yes, and we'll talk to you soon, I hope.
See you at my workshops, everybody.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye.